some of you might know client-side scripting as JavaScript, but that's what it is. So we're actually changing the name, keeping the same Web233, but we're going to be doing JavaScript, which technically that's what it is. So let me minimize some stuff here. Okay, hopefully you should be able to get into Eagle. We want to do that first. And so to log into your computers first on your Macs, make sure you log in with this Mac every Monday night, this Mac username and password. CI is 290 is a username. Bootcamp is a password. So I'll give you a few moments to do that if you haven't already logged in. While you're doing that, I'll kind of give you a verbal intro here to the course, what it's about. Again, it's client-side scripting. JavaScript is what we're going to be covering the next 15 weeks. And JavaScript is used, and it was actually created back in Netscape days. When anybody heard of Netscape web browser? It was actually the very first web browser developed by two Illinois State University college students. And JavaScript was created to work with Netscape to help install apps on Netscape back in the late 80s. Mid-80s, late 80s. Really had nothing to do with Java. Even though JavaScript, you might think it has something to do with Java. Had nothing to do with Java, had to do with just installing apps. Over the years, it's morphed to a client-side script, meaning everything that's ran in a JavaScript applet or app is ran off the browser. Server-side scripting would be where all your code is ran off a web server, and when you go to view the source on a web page, the user can't see it. JavaScript, the user can see all the code. So it's not really meant for a secure wrapper. It's really meant more for production, as you'll see this semester, animation, tying in with other database connection that are public, that are really non-secure. And so it can do a lot of powerful things, JavaScript can, and it isn't going anywhere. And so JavaScript is one of those languages that you're, as a web developer, going to be using quite a bit and be interfacing with it quite a bit. A lot of your phones now use JavaScript as well because, again, it's browser-based and it's easy to for developers to use, and it's cross-platform. And so it's kind of like Latin in the fact that it's kind of a dead language. It's not really moved much in a number of years, and it probably won't. And that's a good thing. When you've probably taken languages that have changed quite a bit, and it's really difficult. JavaScript's one of those languages that maybe it'll be refreshing for you because has not changed. Weeks 1 and 2 is, again, just an introduction. We'll be doing, for the course, an online textbook instead of a physical textbook. Pretty much nationwide, that's what all tech courses are doing. You really don't need a hard copy anymore. Now, there is a hard copy we'll go over in just a second tonight, and when we go over Eagle. If you want a hard copy, you can purchase a hard copy of what we'll be using for a text, but you don't have to, okay? And what's cool about the text is it actually has a built-in compiler in the text itself. So when you actually see a line of JavaScript, you can hit Control-Enter on your keyboard, whether you're on a Mac or you're on a PC, and it'll compile that code and run it right within the web browser for you. We'll also be using an online app called Plunker. Plunker is an app for IDE for developers to learn and share coding. And what's cool about Plunker is when you develop a little snippet for JavaScript and you upload it each week to me to see it, you can also share with anybody else. It's totally free to use. You'll also be setting up this week a GitHub account, if you don't already have one, to log into Plunker with. Plunker's cross-platform, and once you create a Plunker, Plunk is what they call it. Instead of an app, they call it Plunks. Once you create your own Plunks, you can share those Plunks with anybody, and it'll run on anybody's web browser, what you've created. So there's literally hundreds and hundreds and thousands of different plunks that are already out there. The reason I chose it was, again, it's browser-based. You don't have to install any client to begin coding in JavaScript. And you'll literally start week 1 creating JavaScript apps. And so that's the premise of why I wanted to do it that way. I haven't taught this course in like 6 years, so I'll be creating content as we go. I've got about 3 weeks under the belt already, but all the content you'll be getting will be totally fresh and new as far as assignments go and things like that. I was going to use what I did 6 years ago, but I'm like, I'll start out. I'll do something new. You'll also have little mini podcast of each section that we go over in the week. And so instead of doing like an hour-long podcast, which I used to do in this class, I'm going to do like 5-minute podcast. And each podcast will cover, what's president of the college? I told him I was in class. Anyway, I hope you don't get offended. And so let me turn off my ringer. Apologize for that. So JavaScript, again, is a language you'll be using in anything you do in web development. Because it's a small class, I think it'll be a lot of cool stuff to be able to do, get to know one another better. I know some of you are taking the course because you have to have it for graduation requirement, and that's great. So a smaller class is, I think, a good thing. I enjoy doing smaller classes. And so let's go ahead and begin. And everybody get logged into your computers and get into RVC Eagle, because I do have a number of things I want to get done. If you didn't log into this, before you leave tonight, I will help you register your QR code with this app for the first time. And I'll have it up and running by about 15 minutes before class each session on Monday. It'll be up and going. And so we'll do that just to save time. What I'd like to do is really quickly go around the room and just tell us your first name, why you're taking the course, and what you did over Christmas break. How's that? Something different. So I'll start here.
Okay, my name is Amanda. I'm taking this course because it's required, and I did absolutely nothing over break.
It's nice to do that sometimes, right?
Yes.
It is very nice.
Yes. Paul, taking the course because I'm going through the web design programming course. And over break, I did as little as possible, but still ended up working anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I do that too. So, yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Blake.
Yes, Blake.
What were the questions again?
Okay. Your first name.
I got that.
You got that, Blake. Why are you taking the class, and what did you do over break?
I'm taking the class just for just to see what as a graduation requirement, and also to just learn more about Java and
Sure.
that client-side script. And over Christmas break, I saw my step family that I hadn't seen in a long time. And
Well, cool.
Just a nuclear family. So.
That's neat. That's really neat. Cool. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm Casey. I'm taking it as a graduation requirement, and I got snowed in over Christmas break.
Wow.
I wasn't here in a long.
You weren't here. How long were you snowed in for?
43 hours.
43 hours. Was it hopefully in a place where you could actually relax? No, that's not good.
I was having an anxiety attack.
Oh,
When
okay.
we were finally able to open the garage because they had
Oh,
cleared snow in my grandfather's driveway.
yeah.
It came up to like my shoulders.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad you got out.
The whole city was shut down, and it was probably the worst.
Nightmare of Christmas. Okay. All right. I won't bring that up again. All right. Thanks for being here. Yeah.
I'm Dennis, and I've been programming for about 19 years. I'm a customizer for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. I work for a local consulting group. JavaScript is extremely important in web development, and so I'm getting touched up on that. I've been busy with C#, but they keep coming up with more and more jobs at JavaScript.
Right.
So I'm trying to get it
Yeah.
under control.
Yeah. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Yep.
My name's Keith. I'm sort of taking this for graduation requirement. It wasn't a requirement originally, but I opted out of a different one for this one. I would rather take this one.
Sure.
She let me do that. And I didn't really do a lot over Christmas break. Just sat around, relaxed.
There you go. Again, that's nice to do sometimes, definitely.
Actually, you can call me Blue. It's easier. I'm taking this class because it's required for my graduation degree and need to learn more about JavaScript because you know I need to be successful at workplace or maybe after this course. I need to learn a little bit more.
Sure, definitely.
Over the Christmas break, just celebrate the Christmas with family.
There you go. Yeah, we did the same thing. Well, I'm taking the course because I have to teach the course, so just so you know. But over Christmas break, I got to hang out. Our new grandson, Q, he's 8 months old. Got to play with him a lot and had a lot of fun. And our son lives in Springfield, Missouri, so it's we don't get to see him a lot. And so it was cool to see him and the grandson. And then we have 2 grandchildren that live here, and so we got to play with them as well and had a good time. So I did probably a good 2 or 3 days of no technology while the break was on, so that was good. I enjoyed that, and I definitely encourage that. You can take even 1 day, even during the semester, as much as possible for no technology. I definitely encourage that. We usually try to choose like Sunday or Saturday to do that, so it doesn't always work out, but I definitely encourage that. It definitely helps because you get a lot done when you don't have the third limb, right? Okay, so everybody get logged into Eagle? Okay, cool. What we're going to do first is on the very first top, we're going to go over the kind of the layout of Eagle, the weekly agenda. We'll go over the online textbook, the JavaScript editor we'll be using. So right at the top here is about course. We'll click on that and look at it. And by the way, everything that you're seeing and hearing is being recorded. And so you don't have to feverishly write everything down as we go over things on the overhead. So Web233 D010 JavaScript client-side scripting is the technical name of the course. Teaches JavaScript, one of the most popular languages in web development, Monday 4:30 to 7:15. More than likely, we won't go all the way to 7:15 on Monday. Whenever we get done, we're done. I know tonight we won't because it'd be an intro night. Prereqs, and I know some of you I had wave on some of these, but 101, 102, or equivalent web development experience, which a number of you, if not all of you, already have pretty good web development experience, whether it be at school or work. CIS 180 or equivalent, and intro programming experience. So that's the about. The online textbook is Eloquent JavaScript, a modern introduction to programming by Mirjan Harberbecki. It's online version of what we're going to use in class and all the assignments. But if you prefer a paper copy, you can click on this link to go to Amazon to buy it. Not real expensive, and I recommend it if you like hardbacks and mark stuff up. It's definitely worth it. And so, but you don't have to do that. You can put this on your phone and bookmark it on your tablet, whatever. It's a really good introductory book to programming, and we'll go over more of that in just a little bit. One nice reason I chose this book, the online text, is to leverage the power of the computer that you'll be learning how to program on, whether it be your laptop at home, your desktop, whatever. The program examples in the text are live examples. We've all taken programming classes, myself including, and even taught programming classes to where it's hard to maybe understand what you're learning as you're reading because you can't see it function, right? It's nice to see something function and maybe even debug things as you're learning, which we'll talk about how that's done in JavaScript. So I would rather go a little slower and learn things to where you'll understand it and also comprehend it. And one of those ways we can do that is through the online textbook that has built-in live coding examples. So in addition to running examples, you can edit them on the fly. So right within the text, you can make changes to the live examples and see what happens. which is really awesome. So that way you're not breaking your reading, you're not breaking your train of thought, which if you're like me, if you break your train of thought on what you're doing, it can take a while to come back to what in the world you were involved in. And so in addition to editing, there's other aspects of the text I think you'll enjoy. Now, there will be content in the textbook we will not cover for sure, but we will cover a good chunk of it. And so I think you will enjoy the textbook, though. I really do. I really hunted around a lot on what was out there. I've used this one before personally. It's not really a college textbook, but that's okay. I think it's going to fit for our course and what we need. If you're familiar with Rox Press, by the way, WROX.com is a Rox Press website. I do recommend anything Rox Press, by the way. If you ever want to know good textbooks for programmers or good references, awesome, because they're written by programmers, and they don't pay me to say this, but anything written by Rox Press is. Anybody use Rox stuff before? I know if you've had me for PHP, you've used it, but if you any language you can think of, they have in Rox.com. And if you want to try it out, they actually have, I think on most of the books, you can download like 3 or 4 chapters in a PDF version to see what it's like. And the reason I like Rox is kind of like this online textbook we're using. The programmers talk about a concept, right? And then they go right into an example. And it kind of follows along that example throughout the text. And so one of the things I'd like to do this semester is, and I'm not yet decided what that's going to be honest with you. I want to be starting in week 2 or 3, have an app that carries on through the end of the semester that you work on, and you just keep adding to it. That way, by the end of the semester, it's a completed app that's using JavaScript, but I want to make it personalized to where you can use it. One of the ideas I have is an online web app, that you create a list, any list you want to, and then you can send it to people via text message, email, and it'll go right to their device. So it won't actually save the data. It's just going to be an app that creates a list of any type and then sends it to people. One of the things I'd like to do, though, is to be able to save that data, and that's what I'm working on now, how we can do that easily without much to do, and that way you can use it after the class is over. And so I'm looking at some ways to do it. One of the ways I'm looking at database-wise is an XML database, because we won't need to log into it, we won't need to authenticate, and because it's just a list of stuff, it doesn't really matter if people get a hold of it. And so, and it'll be hosted on my web server initially, but I'm going to give you guys will have all the code to where you can basically put it on your web server or a Dropbox account or something like that. So that's the idea for the app I have. Really simple, but in the concept of creating lists in JavaScript anyway, you learn a lot of cool stuff, like not just list creation of arrays, but you learn classes in JavaScript, functions in JavaScript, how to call things through what you learned this semester called the Windows DOM, where you can call different functions within a web page and insert JavaScript, whether a person is inputting information and you want it to output that information. And so, so anyway, that's the idea. That's what I'm toying around with using. And starting probably in week 3, we'll do that. The first 2 weeks is just real general introduction on getting your feet wet with JavaScript, finding out all the syntax, how to call things, how to load things in an interface, developer. Because the first couple weeks of any developing class, you're learning IDE stuff, how to get around the environment that you're going to be using. So I'm not really I don't want to start any big app the first 2 weeks, because you're just learning the basics. And so let's go to the JavaScript editor, third one here. And the recommended browser is Chrome, and you'll see why tonight when we go through it. And that's all I'll say, but Plunker is the next one that we'll be using. And Plunker is an online community for creating, collaborating, and sharing your web development ideas. And it's been around a while. And if you don't have a GitHub account, I want you to create one this week and log into your Plunker account. Once you've created a GitHub account, it's totally free, by the way, to create a GitHub account. And GitHub, by the way, is a source control for developers, is what it is. It's used by millions of developers. I use it in my PHP and my iOS class for source control. So when you make a change, it remembers that change and creates a version, and then you check it in. Plunker uses the power of GitHub, but you don't have to check stuff in. It automatically versions for you. So as you update Plunker, it creates a new version, basically. When you save it, hit save on the Plunker interface, it creates a version. And you can literally see from beginning of your app in JavaScript and Plunker to where you're at now and all the different versions. And if you wanted to revert back to a certain version, it's as simple as clicking on that version and applying it. It's really nice. In GitHub, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. You can revert back to a version in GitHub, but you have to do command lines or download the app to your client. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to worry about any of that, by the way, using Plunker. It does it for you. And I think you'll really enjoy that and really like it. So Plunker and GitHub.com is a requirement for Plunker, and GitHub.com is a free online repo. So today's Monday. I'd like to have you have GitHub.com registered and logged in to Plunker by Wednesday of this week. That'd be a good plan for you to put down to have done. And again, it'll only take a couple minutes to do. And I will show you some examples here in a second. You'll actually see some examples. We'll look at 2 Plunker examples tonight in the intro to JavaScript. So that's the editors we'll be using. And for Chrome, by the way, we'll be using Chrome. Chrome has a lot of cool developer tools. We'll be using the console developer tools in Chrome for the debugging of our JavaScript within Plunker app. And so weekly agenda, let's go over that. Online reading, you'll have some online reading each week. Like between now and next Monday, you have chapter 1 and chapter 2 to read online. There'll be a podcast you'll have to watch. In fact, I'm going to probably have 3 or 4 podcasts between now and Wednesday that I'll be publishing. I already have 2 done. And then again, they're just bite-sized podcasts going over certain parts of JavaScript. And complete assignment with Plunker this week, which is a simple, like most programming classes, it's a simple hello program you'll be creating. I am instituting, just because it looks visually better, where you have to input something in a prompt and you get an output on a prompt on a web page using JavaScript. So you'll actually learn that week 1. Also, I'm including a discussion each week that has to do with that week's content. Okay, the discussions are going to be 20 points, assignments 20 points, no points for reading or watching a podcast. But I do recommend heavily doing the reading and the podcast, because if you don't do it, you're going to have to be forced back to go and do it anyway. Okay, so I'm trying to make it to where the reading that you do is for this week is stuff we'll be covering next week as well. So this week we're covering for sure up to chapter 1, but I want you to read chapter 1 and 2 before next week comes. Does that make sense? So before Monday of next week. And the reading is not real cumbersome. In fact, you can just look on the overhead and I'll show you what it looks like. You don't have to go there right now. But here's the intro to the Eloquent JavaScript. And this is just the intro part. Here's chapter 1. And they usually start each chapter with a quote of some type, and then they go into the meat of the content. And here's what I want to show you real quick. Let's go with like this one here. This console.log itchy not equal to scratchy. It already tells us what it's going to be, but I can hit Control Enter here in the interface. And notice how it gives me the results immediately within the browser. And if I wanted to change this, to something else, like if I wanted to edit this to Scratchy not equal to Scratchy, do that again. Let's put my cursor up here at the top. Now it's false. Okay. And so I actually edited the content of that PHP or that JavaScript right within the browser. But the reading is not a lot. But what's cool about it, you usually have about a paragraph or two of reading, and then you have an example. And the example is just like I showed you on the overhead. The example is Control-Enter, and then it compiles for you to show you the results. And so that'll hopefully keep you from being totally bored out of your brain just by reading, right? Which I don't like that as well. So it's actually interaction while you're reading every couple paragraphs. So it's not a lot of reading in between the examples. And I do encourage you when you do these Control-Enters, and on a Mac it's Control-Enter on your keyboard, on a Windows it's Control-Enter, both, okay? And what I do recommend you to do when you do the examples is change it up a little bit. See if you can mess it up. See if you can cause it to do something weird or something that's not supposed to do. And you'll learn that this semester that JavaScript does allow you to do things you're not supposed to do normally in other languages. It will allow you to do it, okay? You'll get weird results, but it will allow you to do a lot of stuff. That's one of the, and you might have read some stuff about JavaScript. One of the negatives in the programming community is the fact that JavaScript allows you to do some pretty hairy stuff with the language. But as a programmer, I'll teach you this semester how you can do it the right way. That way you're not having to worry about. But if you wanted to force something to do something weird in JavaScript, you can. An example would be taking a quote of a number 10 minus 5 without a quote. You can do that in JavaScript. It'll give you a result. Okay. Other languages wouldn't do that. Wouldn't let you do that. Okay. JavaScript will. Okay. So let's go back to that's agenda, online reading, podcast, assignment with Plunker, and discussion. Now, when you guys come to class next Monday, the way the agenda will be is you've already read chapters 1 and 2. You'll come in here. Everybody will log into the iPad. I'll have about a 30, 45-minute discussion with what you've read and with examples in Plunker. And then the in-class lab, you'll actually have a Plunker app that I'll give you each week, and you'll go in and manipulate that within the class. You'll play around with it. We'll see how it works. And then I'll have you change some stuff around, add in your own code to personalize it. That way you're not only seeing it work, you're actually changing it and doing something with that code immediately. Make sense? The take-home assignment is going to be, even like in week 1, it's going to be a fresh assignment I've created that has to do with what we've covered, but you're going to have to basically create the code yourself. I'm not going to give you anything to start with on the assignment. I will, though, however, give you an example of what one could look like, a personal example of what that final assignment can look like each week. That way you're not just floating out there in ethereal somewhere, just banging your head against the wall. And for those final or those examples, what I tell students to do is do the reading, do your watch a podcast, do the in-class labs, attempt to do that assignment totally 100% on your own. Then if you need help, look at that source I've created and that example to get you over the hump. Make sense? That way you're literally, it's midnight on Friday and you're like, okay, I figured all this out. I got 99% of this figured out. This 1% I'm hung up on. That's when you look at the source code and figure it out, right? What you need to do. Make sense? Okay. So week 1, about me, some of you have already filled this out, and you have until Sunday, by the way, of each week that we're currently in. We have until the following Sunday at 11:59 p.m. to finish your assignments. Week 1 assignments, like I do most of my classes, and about me. Since we only meet once a week, it's kind of nice to get to know each other a little bit better. I think Moo already put some out there about, I'll pick on Moo, I've had him for a number of classes, and he's helped me out with some web stuff. I think you put down on your favorite food noodles, right? I'll just pick on him. What's your favorite noodle? Because I go some to the Pho. I think it's PHO, the Pho restaurant there on Riverside, and they have these. They look like ramen noodles, actually. And I think they might call them ramen noodles, but they really blow up really big. And they're really, but they're better than the ones you buy in the store. What kind of noodles is it you like?
A noodle soup with that seafood.
Okay, so the seafood in the soup, like what, shrimp, crab?
Yeah.
Oh man, it makes me hungry right now. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And so one of his answers was that, and so I could reply back and say, what kind of noodles, and he would just share back what that is. Favorite movie, hobbies, whatever they might be, and why you're taking a class. And then requirement is basically to read everybody's, reply to at least two others' posts besides yourself. You can do more than two, and I recommend doing that if you could. And it just builds more cohesiveness within the class, and get some banter going on back and forth is fine. So questions about the About Me, you have till Sunday 11:59 for that. All right. Next thing we're going to go over is the in-class discussion. What is JavaScript? Instead of reading the text, I do have two PDFs I'm going to show in just a second, these two slideshows. The two slideshows I have included, and I will do this each week, in the in-class discussion. Most weeks will only have one slideshow, but these I've put it in two separate ones. After we do the two slideshows, I'm going to jump right into the View and Learn, which is one of the plunks we'll be looking at. And then the second one and the last one will be the in-class we'll do, this View and Create Your First JavaScript App. We'll look at that one and play around with it. Even though you don't have a GitHub account, some of you, you can edit this and play with it on the fly. And that's what's great about it. So the first thing I'm going to go over is the Web233-1.pdf one first. Go over that. So let me bring that up here. And I will go full screen here to make it look a little better here on the overhead. Here, everybody see that okay? All right. So there's 6 big things in JavaScript that we're going to be going over this semester. Data is 0. And the reason I put 0, array 0, all of you have done programming, so like the different types of JavaScript, different types, like a type would be like a string, an integer, a float integer, things like that. Simple information. Data storage, variable, and an assignment. So an example, variable would be, in JavaScript, you'll learn that in the next week or two, always starts with the word var for the most part. Variable var in JavaScript is a variable that allows you to change it throughout the code. If you don't want it to change throughout the code, you can use a let symbol, which we'll learn about, which is a constant that you're not to change. But for the most part, developers use vars in JavaScript for the most part. And I do allow, or I do recommend, we will be doing it this semester, declaring all your variables. You can declare typeless of variables within JavaScript. I don't recommend it. That's where I talked about earlier about how you can do things in JavaScript you can't do in other languages. But I do recommend creating variables and type variables just to make your code more solid and more easy to understand for you, and not only yourself, but say you gave me your code, I could figure out what that code's doing just by looking at your variable declarations. Data retrieval is the second. Data retrieval, expressions, evaluations we'll look at. Repetition, like loops, which is important, like when you're doing lists of arrays and things like that. Decision making, we already did one earlier about, if a string equals to another string. So a whole bunch of conditional statements you'll learn about, equal to, greater than, less than, Procedural abstraction, or fancy word for functions. We'll actually be doing a function in week 1, actually. Functions, I think, a lot of times in coding, we wait way too long when we're learning coding on functions and classes. We'll be doing functions week 1. We'll be starting to play with them anyway. So it's not something mystical. A function isn't. And a function, pretty much, you'll find out in JavaScript, is much like other functions you've used in other languages, which is great. The only big difference you'll be learning on the ones I'm showing you here on the overhead is the syntax. Syntax will be totally different, but logic's the same for the most part, cross-platform in all languages. But you're here to learn the syntax and how things work and how you call things within JavaScript. Data abstraction, arrays, and then objects, of all the above wrapped up into a nice object. And an object, an example would be the Windows DOM, D-O-M. We'll learn about that. How you can take a Windows DOM and push Java and pull Java from that Windows DOM and from any web browser. It'll work. So data, before the big 6, there's an item 0. We can't study data storage and retrieval without what data is. It's basically symbols, information that a computer manipulates. Way back in Netscape days, they wanted to manipulate Netscape to be able to run apps, basically is what the programmers wanted to do. And the way they did it was they created JavaScript to do it. They created the language to do it. Data is why we write programs in the first place, right? We have questions. We want to manipulate them to get the answer. And so, and massage that data and do what we want to with that data, whatever it might be. It could be student data in the college. It could be big data in a sales directory for a business. We want information we have, which is input, and turn it into information we need, output, right? So the list example I talked about earlier, we put a whole bunch of lists in, want to output it not only to our screen, but maybe output it to a database, output it to an email or a text message or something like that. So input, you're familiar with that. It's just basically we want to take and we want to have something in our program to work on, and that's where inputs come in. Without inputs, you have to hard code everything in. You don't want to do that. And so you want to input, get information from inputs to where it takes that user information, puts it in computer memory, uses a variable probably or an array to store it or a class to store it, and then you can push it out on the output. The new info we expect the program to produce, generate, and compute. We have to get it out of the program back to the user. And I/O is a term we use, input, output. You've probably heard of that, and you'll be hearing a lot about that this semester. But in programming, you'll see this as we go on the first few weeks. I'm really a big believer in pseudocode and writing out program problems before you start in any program. So it's top to bottom, what is this app going to do? Now, how I like pseudocode might be a little different than how you do it. It doesn't really matter how you write it, but you understand each step that program is supposed to do. An example would be get the inputs of all the, say it's a contact database or a contact JavaScript app. Get inputs from the user on the form. So all the form stuff, first name, last name, address, city, state, that's step 1. Step 2, take that inputs and begin to concatenate it in a way to put it in a nice message, to send to the admin, to store in a database, things like that. Step 3 might be we want to report it somehow. We want to show how we can report it and filter it by different field names or different fields within the record. So we want to sort it by last name, first name, address, city, state, whatever. We want to be able to update. We want to be able to delete. We want to be able to move. So these are real simple steps I've just showed you that you'd want to do in any app before you start coding anything, right? And so for some of you, that might be something new, but some of you might do that all the time anyway. Even though it's not been taught to you, you do it anyway. You force yourself to do it just so you understand what you're doing and you can check it off as you're getting it done. That makes sense? And so that's kind of how I will teach this semester with JavaScript, is that way. So here's an example of a von Neumann model of computer. You've got your input devices and your output devices. Your control unit in the computer, your CPU, which is your arithmetic logic unit, and the memory, all within the computer. External storage could be your cloud. It could be a USB drive. Most likely today, though, it's cloud storage. It's just as much as we, in IT anyway, and especially in networking in IT, and I teach network security and in network security through the day with programming. If you've talked to IT folks and networking, that we're a real big proponent of cloud storage, right? And why is that, you think? What's a big reason for you think? Anybody guess off the top of your head?
The amount of space,
Space would be an issue for sure. What beyond that, what do you think beyond space? If it's out in the clouds outside of my control, it's not here in my building, in my office. If I put it out here, what's the danger of something that? What could happen? It's out here somewhere. It's easier for what to happen if it's not in my control, under my domain and control.
someone else can get to it.
Yeah, someone else can get to it, right? Somebody can hack into it easily, right? DNC, Russians. No, just kidding. But we've heard that right lately. So if it's beyond your control, but beyond your scope of control. So within a computer, though, within an app, a JavaScript app, this is basically going to happen regardless what the app is, or even regardless what the process might be. You have inputs, outputs. An example, we could make a hardware input keyboard, output to the monitor, right? Input keyboard, output could be your actual program that's taking that input from. So a lot of different inputs and outputs we can talk about. But this is a real common model to look at when you're looking at inputs and outputs within a computer. So data is the next one. JavaScript has what's called native data types that are built in. I talked about already where they're typeless, basically. You don't have to declare it. Like in C++, you have to declare something as an integer, as a double, or as a Boolean, or as a float. C#, same way. VB the same way. But in JavaScript, you don't have to do that. So let's look at some native types that are built in. 410, -23, 79, 729, 358, so on. So keep on going all that. These are what's called integers and reals, just by the nature of the number, by you're looking at it, right? Integers would be the 4 and the 10. The reals would be your minus 21.15, your 17.336e, negative 14th power. So all of these are native data types built in to JavaScript. Strings, same deal, have native data types, meaning I could do, like on this one, I could do var x equals 4. X would be an integer. Okay. Var first name equals Tar Heels. First name becomes a string. Okay, because it's a string to the right of the equal sign. And that's where it says native data types. Or you might have seen another language, declarative, to the right of your declaration statement, which is the equal sign. It's declaring in JavaScript, whatever's to the right of the equal sign, the type of that variable name, basically. So we have other ones in here, all separated by quotes or encapsulated with quotes, but they're all strings. Doesn't really matter what's in there. They're all strings. Boolean, simple true, false, yes and no, are the only values that you can have. We saw some in an example earlier. Whatever string equals to whatever string. It's a basis for most logic in programming, some type of true and false, either or. And you've seen these, right? These operations of data types. So you have plus, minus, divisional, multiplication, and percentage. And even the last one here, the mod, left over a divisional statement. So you've heard of all these terms in math. If not, you'll be doing some of them, playing with them. So nothing real major here. The next one here is concatenating a string. We'll be doing that in this first week, actually, where we take some variables and regular strings and concatenated into an output. An example here is there at the top it says text plus concatenate substring. So if ABC in quotes plus 1, 2, 3 in quotes becomes that to the right of the arrow. ABC 1, 2, 3 all together, squished together with a plus symbol. Now, like in VB, it's an ampersand. C++, C sharp. Anybody tell me what that is? You've taken that, some of you. What's the concatenating character for that? Is it ampersand? I can't remember. Dot operator. I know in iOS and Swift, it's a dot operator, concatenate strings together. What was it? Plus equal. Yep. In C++, and I think that works in C sharp too. Plus equal. So all these languages have what we're doing here in JavaScript, talking about concatenating strings. That's nothing new. Even all your languages will have the bottom one, which is substring. Substring, in this example for Tar Heels, will take the word Tar Heels and you get heels because you're getting rid of the first 3 characters. Substring 3, starting with 0, 1, 2, it's going to get rid and only leave out heels. Same thing with the second one is a substring, but it uses a 2 argument, starting with 0, going to 2, it's going to grab only that area and leave everything else out, giving tar. All right. And you'll learn some of that and be using some of that this semester. A whole bunch of different Boolean types that you could use, ampersand, and, or, not. Okay, and will be the 2 ampersands, or is the 2 bars, not is the exclamation point. And not can be next to other things like not equal to, not greater than, or, you've used that one before, and. And so some of the logics in this is pretty much universal in programming. True and true equals true. True and false equals false. False and false equals false. True or false equals true. True and true or true equals true. False or false equals false. Not false equals true, and not true equals false. Now, some of the most confusing things for most programming students is the bottom 2, the not false or not true. And sometimes you do use those in loops and in iterations of events in your code. You might have used those already, and it takes a little bit of thinking and wrapping your head around it. And a lot of times we use encoding those bottom 2 to make the iterations shorter, right? We don't need anything. That's going to be the most cleanest to use sometimes, is a not true or a not false, right? Or anything that starts with a not operator, not equal to. Here's another one. Data types, operators could be 5 less than 8, true. 17 less or equal to 3.28, false. So on and so forth. I won't read all of them, but you get the gist of it. All using the greater than, less than, or equal symbol. The bottom one, or the one that has the 3 equal signs, is equal to what's called a safe. All right. Also, the bottom 3 actually is what's called safe. -3 not equals to -3.1 is true, not equal to. One that's kind of different though is that what's called safe. We'll talk more about this semester what that is. It actually uses 3 spaces. Everything else though you've probably seen before in other languages. Strings, comparisons on strings, you can do the same. And on strings, what it's going to do, like hello, lesson, world, is true. It uses what's called alpha order-ish. It's not true alpha order, it's alpha order-ish. Meaning if you had numbers in there and symbols, they would throw it off a little bit because it uses the ASCII equivalent of each letter. And my grandson and I, you can tell we're true geeks, right? Like you guys are. But at Christmas time, we did this. I got the ASCII binary for every letter in the alphabet. And what he did was we took these beads on looked like a, those pipe, what they call them. They have wire, not like a pipe. What is it called? I'm trying to think of it. It's
Corn cob pipe?
What is it?
Corn cob pipe?
It's the pipe cleaner, pipe cleaner.
Oh.
Like the pipe cleaners, you guys have seen, right? Really long, and they have wire in between it. Anyway, we took the beads, like if it was a 0, it was a red. If it was a 1, it was a blue. And the spacers in between each letter or each word was green. And we spelled everybody's name out with this binary code using ASCII. I don't know why I'm telling you the story, but it was kind of fun because we put the ornaments on the tree, and then everybody had to take the binary ASCII code to figure out what the names were on the tree. And so if you want to do that next Christmas, by the way, it's kind of a fun little project. And so it was kind of cool. It looked pretty, but most people are like, what is that? All right, next PDF. Let's go over that one. Not real long on this one. This was 1-2. And it's got 33 slides, but we'll fly through them pretty quick here. Okay, skip that, went over that earlier. Okay, data storage. This one talks a little bit different slant on data storage. You have your variables and assignment. Your data values must be stored in computer memory for operating. Data values could be input from users, from a form, whatever it might be, a pop-up. Data storage is done by what's called an assignment statement, which you'll find out more about. Assignment is putting a data value into storage location in memory. And such a storage location used by a program is called a variable. So var first name. Have a pop-up, enter in Chuck. It goes in first name variable and stores it. Variables means stored value can vary, and different values can be stored in different times. So a variable has a text name. Make sure it's a meaningful name. Example, valid names, X, speed, age, trip 3, price, total, amount. I wouldn't recommend the $_, but that is a valid one. Total works years. I really like the bookcase ones better. Like the total years worked. I like that. First name, full name, last name. Stuff that makes sense, right? You look at it. I can look at it. Anybody can look at it. Kind of makes sense. I kind of try to stay away from these unless it's a counter of some type within a loop or something. I stay away from X's and Y's. I want to make sure my variables are kind of meaningful, right? And it's just a very good practice to start with. So here's an example, variables. You can think of a variable as a name for data containing a box, storage area memory. So age, speed, and title, the Island of Solace. So age 47, speed minus 5.312, and title, the Island of Solace. And this could be in a web form or something that the user fills out. How the assignment statement works, you have the word age, a variable age, equals 47, which is the data value. The equal sign is the assignment operator. An assignment operator is pretty universal in all your languages you've learned. And so it's read this way, variable age gets a value of 47, okay? So var age equals 47. Here's what it will look like here. After you declared age equals 47 with a semicolon, speed equals minus 5.312 with a semicolon, title equals the Island of Solace with a semicolon, gear ratio _3 equals 0.27 semicolon, done equals false. Note the semicolon at the end. That's probably one of the biggest things. If you get an error in JavaScript, like a lot of languages, C++ is like this, C#, that's what it's gonna be, more than likely. But the great thing about the compiler we'll be using and the debugger we'll be using in Chrome, it tells you the exact line of where everything's at. So there's no guessing, because you can do JavaScript, which I've taught it this way, and like anybody use like the Notepad++, I'm guessing you've used that, right? It does IntelliSense great on that and color coding of your code, but it doesn't do a good job in debugging, right, your code. Whereas Chrome allows you to do that, allows you to debug well. So put a semicolon at the end of Java on every JavaScript statement. There are some, though, you'll see as we go on that you won't need to put a semicolon at the end. But just know right now, for the most part, every line is going to need a JavaScript. Every JavaScript line is going to need a semicolon. A statement is a basic syntax unit from which programs are composed. Program executes by going from one statement to the other in order from top to bottom. So far, all we know about are what's called assignment statement, which we've talked about, and an alert statement that we'll actually use here in just a moment, which is a function call. An alert statement is kind of like a message box. right? In other languages. It pops up what you want it to say, whether in a string, whether an input from a user, wherever it might be. So detail, we'll just go with what we have right now. We're looking for a lot of detail here. It seems simpler soon when we put everything together. But here at the beginning, we want to emphasize principles at work, which you have data, data storage, data retrieval. And data retrieval, you have some expressions we'll look at, and evaluation. And once data's values are stored in a computer, we need a way to put it back in the program. Like an example would be first name, how are we going to use it? It's done by expressions and evaluation. Expressions are formulated in what's called from variables, values, operations, and expressions. And here's the below examples of those. So X minus age plus 3, not done, go plus Tar Heels, that calculation here at the bottom here. This one right here would be 1 as well. So evaluating expressions, it means turning the formula into a data value of some type. So an example would be one of the things you'll be doing for take home is putting in the year of your birth and finding out how old you are from the year of your birth. Okay? Just doing simple math, evaluating it. So rules define how this is systematically done. So a constant evaluates to itself, like 5 stands for the integer value 5. A variable evaluates to the data stored in its memory. So like X, 17.3, X now stands for 17.3. More complex expressions is where you evaluate first, evaluating the simple parts, then combine the values using operations outside of the inputs. So we have dx with that number, dy with that number, dx plus dy evaluates to that, then the results are there. Total equals dx plus dy, cause a memory to put in the total, 37.814. Just simple mathematics sum, that's all it is. Operator order matters in JavaScript just like in any math, so I won't bore you with that. So it's the same in JavaScript as in every other math problem you've ever done. Nothing changes there. Anybody remember the old Texas Instrument, Casio? Huh? And so big names can differ. And so depending upon what you're using, depending on your data, but mathematical precedence is still the same order in JS as in other languages. Here's a good reference, by the way. Wolfram Alpha. Anybody heard of this website or this app? It's an awesome app. Wolfram Alpha. You can find out a whole bunch of computational information if you need help with that, or just, I like it because actually it lets you search even facts of things. So if you have an iOS or Droid, either one, you can download Wolfram Alpha or just Google it and try some JavaScript in there. Or some numerical values, and it'll help you tremendously. So be explicit. And this is what I talked about earlier. Remember how I told you how JavaScript lets you do anything you want to do, pretty much? You know, pretty much. But the one thing we don't want to do is cause more work for ourselves. And sometimes as a programmer, you can do that by being lazy in your coding. And so JavaScript has no implied multiplication. So no implied anything. So we want to make sure that we, as programmers, even though we know what the mathematical precedence is, we code with that mathematical precedence in mind, okay, as we're coding. Be explicit in it and be extra clear, have extra clarity in what we're doing. So an example is our first program here we're going to look at. So var years, var months, years is 42, months, years times 12. The top two are variable declarations. The next one's an assignment, years equals 42. The next is an expression evaluation, years times 12, and an assignment, plugging into months. 3 alert statements. If a person is age years, it's going to put in the value for years, which is 42. In months, this is months, which would be years times 12. then years, space years is space months plus months. And so it's going to put both of those together in an alert statement and a mathematical statement. So here's what I want to do. I want to go. Got a couple more slides. Anybody watch these guys, Duck Dynasty, ever? Uncle Si. Declare your variables is what we're talking about here, basically. Just declare your variables, and you'll do that from week 1 here. So what we're going to do now is play around a little bit. Plunker, we'll look at in just a second. We'll need to use Chrome if you're not already in Chrome. But I put up here a little note that Plunker is going to be used to create, test, and debug. The debugger console is going to be Chrome. So basically, we'll initiate the process by opening up Plunker in just a second in Chrome. We will, to start a debugger within Chrome, we actually use the word debugger, just actually anywhere in the code, and it starts up in Chrome. In Chrome, we'll go to what's called the View menu, Developer JavaScript console, and then we'll run the app in Plunker. So let me just show you real quick what I need you to do. All right, so let me X out of these. If you will go to the View and Learn in the in-class discussion, if you click on this little arrow here, by the way, this little arrow right here, it should open it up into a new window easier. And I am not logged in like you. I'm not logged in, so I'll be just like you on this. So as soon as you click on that, make sure you're in Chrome, by the way, if you're not already. I thought I said that, but if I didn't, apologize for that. As soon as you launch it, this pops up. An embedded page is running at run.poinker.co, says, thank you, Chuck Conkle. Email is cconkle@gmail.com. Age is 49 years. All that information is true, by the way. If I click OK, it says what to put in my favorite color. So go ahead and put in your favorite color, whatever that might be, and click OK. Then it should say my name, comma, your favorite is green, right? Or whatever color you put in yours. If you click OK, this is what you end up seeing on your side. On the left is the regular HTML. On the right is a preview. My screen's a little wider here, so I'm going to minimize. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit here so I can see some stuff. So this icon right here that my mouse is on, see where it says open your work in the Plunker editor? Does anybody see that on yours? The little arrow that points up? Go ahead and click on that. And it's going to open it up in the Plunker editor in editor mode, even though we're not logged in, which is what I really like about Plunker. Now, one thing that's going to pop up is this big thing on the right side. Yours probably won't be as big as mine. But if you click on this icon here, this little icon here is going to collapse that on the right. It should. So we'll have left code, which, by the way, we're on the index.html. And it's a real simple code. I want to go over this real quick. Beginning HTML tag, beginning head tag. Yeah.
I'm having trouble accessing the link.
You're having a problem what?
Accessing the link.
Oh, are you? Okay, I'll help you.
Yeah, for some reason, like my Eagle's been looking like this.
Oh, go back, click the back arrow. Keep going. Go to Web233 DOI. I'll come around and see if you guys see it.
It's been it's like all the other web pages are like, okay, it's just this one.
Click on that again and click on, just type in RBC Eagle.
Enter.
And then hit enter. And then just go to that first link. Okay, go to view and zoom out.
Yeah, I tried that earlier. It's zoom the
Do you
content.
mind if I get in there real quick? Let's see if I can,
You got it?
fix it for you. I don't know. I might have to close the browser out altogether or something.
I tried to click type in the link manually, but didn't access it. So
Okay, so let's, I'm gonna close out everything here.
yeah, it's just really weird. Oh, it's looking a lot better now.
right, well, I'm gonna have you log in. Maybe you timed out. Your Eagle might have timed out maybe.
Oh, maybe.
So if your Eagle timed out, you're gonna have to log back in. Looks like you'll need to log back in. Cool. Let's see how everybody's doing here. You can click on that. Oh, you're in Safari, that's why. So just do this. Click cancel. Hit close. Now, up here at the top, copy that URL. Just copy it. And then fire up Chrome. And we'll paste it. No, just leave it open. It's not going to hurt anything. Let's do it. It's Command V on the Mac keyboard. That's okay. It's Command V. Command V. Instead of no, you did Control C. Command V is right there. Command. And hit paste. Here we go. Oh yeah, that's better. Click OK. And then just put in your favorite color. Okay. That's all right. Click OK again.
Are you surprised?
And then you'll click on this little icon there, a little arrow.
Not really.
A little arrow right there. Click on that. Let it load up. And click on this little icon here to hide that. Anybody else need help getting where I'm at on the overhead? Okay. That's okay. The first time going through, it's going to happen. And this is being recorded. So, all right. So we're in the HTML still. The first under the head file is a link to CSS. The second one is powerful and we'll be using to this week and all the semester basically, is a link to script.js. Everything else down here we're really not going to be using right now. This hello plunker, we're just going to leave it as is. If you'll click on the readme.md file on the left, that's in there because it's a GitHub file. And you can put in here, by the way, in your projects, information you want to put in here. Like, for instance, you might put something like, week 1, week 2, whatever, little stuff, little notes to yourself. I'm not requiring you to do it, by the way, but it's just kind of a notepad type thing for you. The next one is script.js. And then the last one is style.css. We'll not be using that one either. But we will be using all the time script.js and index.html, those two. So let's go to the script.js. You'll notice at the top of this, it has Prof Conkle. I want you to put in there in place of that your first and last name. So I'm replacing Prof Conkle with Chuck Conkle on mine. Right. Everything else we can leave the same. And what this is showing you here that we're going to go over is really miniature examples of what the text goes over. So here's how you get to the developer in Chrome. You'll see on line 7, it says click on View Developer JavaScript Console. We'll hit clear, then we'll run the plunker, and then we will notice something about the console.log in a second. But first, let's do numbers 7, 8, and 9, and I'll do it with you on the overhead. If you click the View menu in Chrome, go down to Developer and select JavaScript Console. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff pop up here. Right here where my mouse is at, I'll hover over it right now on the screen. Right here, this little circle with the X or the line through it, that's the clear. We'll clear it out. And let's do this. If you look at my mouse on the overhead, see when I get to right there, I can click and drag down a little bit. Let's do that with yours too so you kind of see a little bit better. So on the left is my files. In the top middle is the JavaScript code. In the bottom is my console for developer, for debugging. You'll see in a second. Okay? So we did the View Developer JavaScript Console. We cleared. Now we've got to run it. So see the run button there in the middle of your plunker? It's right to the right of new. Click run. As soon as you click run, you'll notice right here on the bottom, it says Thank you, Chuck Conkle. Your email is chuckconkle@gmail.com, and you're 49 years old. It also gives me a pop-up that says the same thing, except it's separated real nicely on 3 lines. Go and click OK. Put in my favorite color, just like you guys did earlier. Put in your favorite color as well. Okay. Then it says my name, comma, your favorite is green. Now, here's what I want you to notice at the bottom of that console. You'll notice script.js goes to line 105. I want you to take your cursor at the bottom here and scroll up. There's a little scroll bar here. If you can see on the overhead, this little scroll bar I'm moving. Go all the way to the very top till you get to the thank you, Chuck Conkle, your email is line. What this reason I'm showing you this is where this line is compiled on line 28. So if we go to line 28 in our code up here, and by the way, this little screen here, this little screen right here, we can move over. We can move this little line over to get some more space for us. So you can move that little line over. All right, so go to line 28. And there's a console.log person. Okay, that's where it's compiled right here, line 28. Now you'll notice there's stuff before that. There is stuff before that. And I want to look at that real quick, the stuff before that line. So if you'll scroll up to line 17, where it says ver full name, Chuck Conkle, I want you to put your name in there. Instead of my name, put your name. Okay, I will help you. Oh, yeah, good question. I'll do that from up here. I can show you. Right here, if your debugger's on the right side, which some of yours might be, over on the toggle bar, you can click on that toggle bar and tell it to go. It's actually just 3 dots here to the right of the X. The 3 dots, you want to change it to this one here, the bottom one. I'm guessing it's on the right side now, right? So change it to the bottom one. It'll be a little nicer for you. Did that help? Cool. Okay, so everybody change your full name to your name. Email, change it to your email, whatever that might be. You can use Gmail, that's fine. You don't have to use your Rock Valley one. Change your var age on number 19 to your real age, unless you want to fake it, or you don't want to tell everybody your real age. Some people do that. Now, once you change line 17, 18, and 19, put your cursor on the end of line 19, which is the one where it's the var age declaration, and hit the return key. What it's going to do is recompile everything we just did again, but this time it should have your information in there instead of my information. Should have. Correcto mundo? And again, you'll notice this is still running. And as we make changes in the code, okay, in Plunker, it's compiling it every time over and over again. Now, if you want a fresh and new each time you do it, you can actually just click this clear out. It'll clear it out. And then notice when I take my cursor up here on line 20 and hit the return key, it starts it all over again. Does that make sense? So it's just basically recompiling every time I make a change and just hit enter anywhere within the code. And then I scroll back up here to the top, and there's my line 30 this time. It moved a little bit because I did a few enters. So let me see how everybody's doing. Okay. Right? Good. Good. And click on console for me instead of elements. There you go. And there you go. That's what you want. See how you see line 39, Dennis McFall, your favorite snow.
Good. Looking for the run button.
Scroll to the very top.
Okay.
Actually, it's right up here. See a little arrow?
Oh, this one?
Nope. to the left, the little arrow, the little box with the arrow in it, to the left of that.
This one.
That one.
Oh, gotcha.
Then you can run it.
Okay.
Now you'll have to probably bring in everything again. You'll have to go to the view menu again.
Okay.
Go to developer,
JavaScript.
JavaScript console. Click on that to hide that little thing. Nope. Yep, right there.
Gotcha.
There you go. And then go on script.js. You can clear this out. Change your name. Okay, you already did it. So put your cursor right here.
Then hit a
No, just hit run actually. You haven't started running yet.
and then hit return.
There you go. There's Blake Wellington. Good. And then click OK. Put your favorite color in. Everybody else need help? Okay, good. And you can move this over a little bit too.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, now let's keep going on this. On line 23, it says, thank you, comma, full name. Your email is email and you are blank years old. All right. This is just concatenating the string together. That's all it's doing. On line 26, it's formatting that string with what's called a new line function, the /n. Everybody see on line 25? So thank you, comma, full name, Chuck Conkle. Email is, email, age is, age, whatever my age is, years old. Now, the two prompts we're going to get. The first prompt is on line 30, or mine's on line 30. Yours might be different because we've made some changes. See the console.log person? That's the unformatted one. Okay, that's the one that shows up on right here on the overhead and on yours on line 30. Okay. It's just going to kick out to the console. You won't see that in your web browser at all. All this stuff is going to be in the console. The 33, though, the alert, you did see. That was the formatted one that popped up with 3 lines. Okay. That is this one right here. The formatted one. Let me go back up again. That one right there. That's the formatted one. The alert symbol. There's another alert symbol. Okay. So let's keep going. The prompt, the what's your favorite color? The word prompt prompts the user to enter something in, which in this case is your favorite color. And we might add in there, what is your favorite color instead of what's your favorite color? What is your favorite color? You'll notice every time you make a change, it does run it through. And if that's annoying, which it can be, you can stop your code. Just stop it from running your work and make your change. Okay, which I do a lot when I'm playing with it. Another alert on line 41 is going to display your full name, comma, your favorite color is, whatever you chose. It's also going to put a console log here, which is right here on the next one. Chuck Conkle, your favorite color is green. Line 44 is 10, -2, or it's actually -10 - 2, which is going to give -8 here. It's going to show up as -8 anyway. On line 42 on mine. Again, yours might be different on the line. Line 49 on mine, type of 4.5. What does your guys give on yours? It's right underneath -8. Number. And next is type of X. What's it give you on that? String. So if I change, for instance, the top on console type of 4.5 to instead of 4.5, I might put A in quotes and run it again. I'm just going to put stuff in there right now so I can see it. Now it changed that after -8. It's actually going to be at the bottom here. Change it again. Clear it out, see it better. So string and string now. Next is Boolean, 3 > 2. True. I'm trying to scroll up or scroll down on mine best I can here. Next is console log, 3 is 3 < 2. False. Now, what happens if I click on one of these lines? So if I click on one of these lines, like line 59, it's going to take me right to, if I click on it, you'll notice it takes me from the console to sources, right to the line where it's at in the middle. To go back to where I was, I just click on console again. All right. So if I want to go and drill down on a certain line, I just click on that line. It takes me to the line in question, which is line 106 here. And there's line 106 right there. So you can drill down further. So I won't go over all these though, but I definitely want you guys to do these later at home. It just goes through line by line, how it's compiled, what it's doing, using Plunker and using Chrome. Pretty cool, right? Now let's do this. Exit out of that for me. We're not going to save it. Exit out of it. Go back to the in class. And we're going to go to do the last one. We'll be done, which is view and create your first JavaScript app. The very last Plunker. Click on that. Make sure you're in Chrome when you do this. If you're not in Chrome, you can control click on this and copy that link. Copy that link by hitting the control click button. Click your mouse on it and copy that link address. I'm going to open this one up in Chrome. It looks like this. Hello, RVC students. Week 1. Click to run your first JavaScript program. We're going to run it first. I'm going to have you make a change. Hello from your first program. Put in your full name. Okay. Welcome, Chuck Conkle, to Web233. Okay. Once you've done that, click Launch in Editor. And let's hide the stuff over here like we did before. And since I've already showed you the console, one of the things I've added to this that I didn't do on the other one is I added the debugger to this one. Okay. I also did another thing too. I put an HTML comment line above here just to show you it's making a call to the JavaScript. Also on this one, there's a button on lines 13 through 15. It's basically the value says click to run your first JavaScript program. It's running a function that we'll see in a second called main program in the JS file. Let's go to the JS file, the script.js. At the very top is where you would put your first and last name. Since we're not saving this, you don't need to do it tonight, but that's where you would put it. And every JS file, by the way, will look like that, lines 1 through 5. Okay? You'll put your name in there, Spring 2017, Web233 JavaScript, date, and assignment number, whatever it might be. Line 6 through 18 is a function. Okay? And it's called main program, which is a popular program to use when you're learning JavaScript. And I put in here a comment, put text of your source code below the dashed line, debugger, semicolon. What it's going to do, we'll see in a second, is launch the debugger to where you can go line by line in your code in Chrome. We'll see that in a second. The alert will pop up, hello from your first program. The string will prompt up, enter your full name. You'll enter it in. So here's what I want you to do. Where it says hello from your first program, I want you to put hello from your first and last name, apostrophe S, Chuck Conkle's first program. So your first and last name, apostrophe S, first JavaScript program. We'll put JavaScript program in there. A bit more descriptive. So hello from your first and last name, apostrophe S, first JavaScript program. Everything else will leave the same. Now, where do I get to the Chrome debuggers? If I remember, what menu item do I click on? View, right? Then where? Developer, then JavaScript console. We're going to do the very same thing we did before. What do I need to do as soon as I do that? What button do I need to click on? Remember? Starts with a C. Yeah, this clear right here. Clears it out. Okay, now, everybody do that. Once you've done that, click the run button. Once you've done that, click the run button. And this pops up on the right, the preview. And nothing's happened yet because we've not actually ran that function. Then click on the click to run your first JavaScript program. Here's where you'll see, it should say in your Chrome compiler, paused in debugger, right? Everybody see that? You'll also see it will actually highlight on the word debugger here at the bottom. And over here, you've got some controls. The one I recommend to use is this one right here. It's where you're stepping over your lines of code one by one, okay? And I'll just show it to you if you want to look at it, or you do it with me, however you want to do it. You'll do this definitely 100 times this week at home. If I hover over this variable, RBC student, notice how it says undefined right now. It's undefined because it's not yet hit that line. So let me step through this real quick. I'm going to click on this, step over next function call. It's going to pop up the alert, hello Chuck Conkle's first program. And if you're doing it with me, it'll do the same there. Right now, the RBC student is still undefined. I'm going to step over, enter in full name, do that. Click OK. Now if I hover over RBC student, now it has Chuck Conkle in there. Keep going. Now I can even hover over RBC student here. It has Chuck Conkle in both places. And that's what I love about the debugger. You can see what it's doing while it's doing it, even before it does it, while it's doing it and after it does it, both, which is nice. You get to a lot of code. The last one is an alert statement welcoming that variable to Web233. And then once we're finished, we can hit this button right here, which is resume script execution. And we're right back to where we were before. And then we click console, clear. And if we wanted to stop debugging, this is what I do. I go to line 9 here. I just comment out that debugger line. I leave it in there. Right? And then I'll go ahead and go to like line 11, hit enter. It'll start it up again. And you'll notice this time something different. You don't see the debugger because it's gone. We commented out. Make sense? So that's intro to JavaScript using Plunker, Chrome, which I think you guys, what do you guys think of Plunker so far? Pretty cool, right? Not bad. I think once you use it over and over again, that's what I want you to do this week. Over and over again, do what we just did here. It's been recorded, so you'll see how we did it. Once you've done it, and what's great about it on your home computer, it'll remember where you have all your menus and stuff for Chrome. It'll remember where you put your debugger and all the good stuff, so you don't have to keep clicking hide stuff all the time, and that's a nice feature. So let's keep going on here. We're almost done. For week 1, between now and next Monday, 2 chapters. Variables, types, operators. Went over some of those already. Program structures goes over functions, like the main function we went over tonight in that second app, the Hello World app. Your assignment for this week is to create you're going to update or create a brand new plunk, and I'll do a little podcast to show you how to do that. It's really simple to do. You'll create a brand new plunk for week 1. You'll update the index.html. You'll put a title in it, week 1 Web233 assignment. You'll jump to the script.js. You're going to add your comments in there, student name, spring 2017, the ones we talked about earlier, all the way down to assignment number 1. You'll create a function to have the user input full name, input year of birth. Then you're going to display the full name and how old the person is by taking 2017, subtract by year of birth. So the example alert statement is going to be hello, comma, your name, comma, you are, whatever age, years old. Make sense? And that's going to be in a plunk. Once you are done with your plunk, I show you how to share it. You basically click on My Plunks, click the detail icon, which looks like an exclamation point, and copy that URL that it gives you, and that's what you submit into week 1 assignment. There will be a podcast, by the way, for creating a plunk, putting together your very first assignment in Plunk, and packaging it and sending it. There'll be 3 podcasts, about 3 to 4 minutes apiece. Pretty simple. Think you got it? Really, I think you guys will enjoy the textbook, the assignment, have fun with it. If you want to do something different with the assignment, which I give this with all my programming classes, a challenge would be If you want to do more, which some of you might want to do more, you can do more. I'll give you extra credit for that. Give you like 20 points extra credit for anything extra you want to do with that program. You want to add new fields to it. You want to do different with the output, whatever it is you want to do. Add in the debugger statement, whatever you want to do in there. Just tell me when you submit it in Eagle, though, what you've done, okay? And then you'll get the points for doing it. If you don't tell me what you've done, but you did it, you won't get the extra points for it, all right? Week 1 discussion is what's your first impression testing JavaScript using Plunker. Don't answer it now. Wait till you played with it this week and really got into it. And so just answer honestly. And the way I've set the discussions up each week, you'll not only see your post, you will see each other's posts as well. So where you kind of get some feedback from other people. Oh yeah, I like that about that. Or I didn't like this, but here's a trick I found out, or something like that, right? So you'll get to actually interact with each other on the discussion. That is week 1. Take a big breath, breathe out. Everything's been recorded. Week 1's under our belt as far as the in-class goes. You guys still have, after you leave tonight, to do the GitHub Plunker app install. No big deal. It's pretty simple. Do your reading. I would wait to do the assignment till after you get the email from me on the podcast, which as soon as I get home tonight, I'm going to put them out there for you. The assignment podcast will be in the assignment itself. I'll just show you real quick. The assignment podcast will be in here. I'm going to have 3 of them. One for how to set up a Plunker, one to how to set up your app within Plunker, and then one how to submit your Plunker, right? Plunker kind of sounds like a fishing term, by the way, but we'll get used to it. But they call it plunks, plural. Plunk. Yes, yeah. And it's really, I'll end with this. I will end with this, and then we're done. I'm going to log in with my Plunk here real quick to show you what your plunks look like, what your screen looks like anyway. So let me go there real quick. Load my plunks. There we go. I'm going to sign in my GitHub. Okay, so there's ChuCon. Once you log with your GitHub, go to My Plunks. You'll have a whole podcast on this. But here's all my plunks right here. The one we did, the first one we did here, the week 1 values, types, and operators. The second one was here. And it's really easy to share. All you have to do is this little exclamation point. When you click on it, it gives you that view. This URL is what you share with me. Done. Or anybody. You share it with anybody, and they actually have that full app that you just created, the full JavaScript app, which is really nice. I've used tons of other ones. You guys probably have too. The reason I like this one is pretty intuitive. It's easy for people that you share it with to use it, and they can also fork your Plunk onto their account and keep making changes. So you guys can look at my Plunks when you get home that I did for the class this week, and you can basically share or click on the fork my Plunks to your Plunk account, basically. And then it's on your Plunk account to do what you want to with it. Pretty cool. Any questions? Oh, the other thing too I'll have in here, it'll be a separate section in each module, will be the in-class podcast, when we're doing in class tonight. There'll be a separate section in each week called podcast. That's going to be for the in-class one that we're doing right now. That way, if you want to forward fast to something or see how we did something specific, I'm thinking probably when I went over here's how you load up the dev window using Chrome and Plunk. Probably go to that one, I'm guessing, and look at that. So look forward to a great semester. If you have any questions, the mode of conversation for me or communication is email first, for sure. Email me. I reply quickly to emails. Before you email me, though, make sure you've exhausted all your efforts. You've done your reading, podcast, before you ask a question. Is that okay? That way I know you've kind of done your due diligence. Yeah, move.
So console.log is just to hide the JavaScript.
Yeah, control.log will only work in that Chrome console. It'll only work in the bottom of that Chrome console.
Yeah, because the document down right is to display
To the web, right. It displays to the web page itself, right. We've not done that yet. We've not been there yet, but the alert one though that we have done this week, that one will prompt the user on the actual screen. But the console.log will only be viewable in the Chrome source at the bottom. Make sense? Cool. All right, well, we're done for the night. If you have any questions, come see me. Otherwise, see everybody next week. Look forward to a great class and plunk away. Have a good time plunking. You'll enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. You'll enjoy it.
Would you mind sending me an email?
Your QR, yeah, just come. You have your cell phone with you?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, come up here. I just been texting everybody. There's two.
Oh,
Yeah, the college's email's weird tonight. It's not sending it to everybody. Okay, so Blake. And if you didn't log in tonight for the app, come up and log in before you leave. I'll show you how to do it if you need help. Just tap here and
I know.
good to go. You've done it before.
I've done it.
You're a pro.
I know.
All right, Blake, I'm going to put the link in here and then I'll have you put your number and send it to yourself. So give me a second here.
Sounds good.
Here you go. Yeah, just put it. I'll show you real quick. Make sure the QR is showing. I don't know. Find out. Can you make that any bigger or you don't know?
Probably not.
Okay, let's see if we can go that way.
I still have it on the screen. I gotta get their picture.
Is that one there too?
Yeah, you try that other one.
Okay.
Just have to-
Here you go, Blake. You can grab my phone.
Oh.
And put your number in and send it. And if that doesn't work, we can print it out too. It's no big deal.
Okay.
Yes, let's try that. You mind if I see it? See if I can hold my tongue just right. We'll print it out. Don't worry about it. Here, I'll do it right now, actually. Did you send it to you?
I think so.
All right, cool.
Hold up.
I will print it out for you and it won't take just a second, I'm sure. Righty.
And my phone's a real piece of work. He said about like on the desk, like that much force, it'll reboot.
Oh, really?
It's
Wow.
it's a cheap phone, so you get what you pay for.
What kind of phone is it?
An Alcatel One Touch.
Oh, okay.
I got it from Walmart, so.
There you go. All right, let's see here. I want to search this one. Well, search bar is here.
Yep, there it is.
All right, I'll search it within my browser, I guess. Okay, first three of your last name.
STA.
What is it again?
STA.
STA. STA, right?
Yep, STA.
Let's pull up Web233.
There.
Okay. Don't like that either. Let's go with this, see if I can. Sort by date here, if it lets me here.
got it up on the screen.
There we go, finally. Okay, I got it. Yeah, Dropbox used to have a shared or a search feature, but for whatever reason, it doesn't have that now.
Did you get a break over between the 2 semesters, Chuck?
Do I know?
Did you get a break between the 2 semesters at all?
Oh yeah, I did. I sure did.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, we go. And then shoot over one of these printers here. So where did you travel to see your relative at? Where'd you get to go or have to go to that?
Like the nice thing is most of my family's kind of like within the area. Like,
Right.
So like the family on my stepdad's side is mostly like in Rockford. So like on Christmas Day, like since I didn't have to work that day, I went with my mom and my stepdad. We just visited family
Okay.
over there. And then
Yeah.